Being joined now by another writer. Kevin Mitchell is the boxing and tennis, bizarrely, correspondent for The Observer. He's also the author of a book that I've actually read, Jacob's Beach, The Mob, The Garden and the Golden Age of Boxing, which is a terrific read about the goings-on in America in the middle of the last century, and I recommend it to you, provided you're prepared to have a pretty dim view of some of the things that goes on in and around boxing. Welcome, Kevin.
Hi, Danny. Thanks for those kind words.
Well, first of all, let me. Since you are the tennis correspondent, I'm going to give you. You might as well give you 90. Yeah. Now let's talk about this fight in Hamburg tomorrow night. We're about 24 and a half hours away from the opening bell, Kevin. Your book, actually, The Mob, The Garden, The Golden Age of Boxing, is very much concerned with the shenanigans surrounding big-time fighting. You won't have been disappointed then with the build-up to this fight, which has had all kinds of strange carries on, particularly the war of words.
Yeah, well, I think it's part of the business. I mean, I don't know whether Colin would agree with me one way or the other, where it's a good or a bad thing. It's just the way it is, and nearly always has been. I think with Haye, it's been a long-term project getting to this stage, and I think the trash talking, the T-shirts with the beheaded Klitschko brothers, it's been ramped up for a lot of reasons, and I think part of it is because it's a pay-per-view event. I mean, they don't need to sell any more tickets in that stadium. They've both got their purses worked out. What they're doing now is ramping up the pay-per-view interest, or continuing to do so, and people are talking about it non-stop. I mean, Ali did it to various effect down his career. I mean, he was very unpopular at the start when some of the things he said were considered way beyond the pale, much as David Haye's remarks have been. I mean, some of the things he said to Joe Frazier and other fighters, you'd say, well, how could he get away with that, and how could he become such a beloved icon? Well, his real character shone through in the end. I think David Haye is a nice guy, basically, and I think he's just a great salesman.
Can I talk about your book as well, because as you know, I not only read it, I did a column on it when it first came out, and I loved it.
Thanks, Colin.
It's very, very interesting, the era of you write about, the Joe Louis era, and the comparison you can make between, I know that was a long time ago, it's 70 odd years ago, but Joe Louis, the first black man since Jack Johnson to win the heavyweight champion of the world, didn't say a word. He was told, keep your mouth shut, because he might have got lynched or assassinated because he was black. Isn't it amazing how the world has changed?
Absolutely. I mean, he was selling war bonds for the U.S. government during the war. He was Mr. Clean. He was painted as a great patriot, which he was. But he was told what to do. He was a manufactured champion and hero. And there were things going on in his life well away from the limelight that I'm sure you were well aware of as a boxing historian and lover of the game yourself, Colin. And the only image we ever had of Joe was as a tame guy who did what he was told by the boxing industy.
It wasn't only the boxing industry, it was his black managers. They were terrified.
I mean, absolutely.
Black, and I forgot the other name, who was his manager. But also, he was told, when you're knocking these white guys out, do not celebrate. Yeah. You watch the films of Lewis. Yeah.
Well, thanks to people like Muhammad Ali and, of course, the general population of the United States, the world has changed, as you say, and thank goodness for that, and for the better.
Absolutely, but wasn't it interesting to the trash talking of today to compare it to the Joe Louis era?
Literally, the world turned on its head. Kevin, what about the fight tomorrow? Are you as excited about it as everybody else? Or
I can't wait, Danny. I think it's going to be a fantastic fight. Some fights, excite you. The only thing that will stop it from being a real barn burner, as the Americans say, is if Klitschko goes into a super defensive mode and doesn't engage Haye at all. I can't see him doing that. And I think Haye has manufactured that situation by winding him up. I think he genuinely is upset by Haye. I really think he wants to, knock him out and beat him up badly. I personally think that's to Haye's advantage. I think he's going to take him out of his comfort zone And I think while it lasts, I mean, it might last 5 or 6 rounds, in my humble opinion, I think it's just going to be a cracking fight.
And who do you think will have the belts, the many, many belts around their waist and the chest by the end of it?
Well, you know, you can make a good argument for either of them, because I think Klitschko is psychologically a little bit frail, and David's chin is not made of rock, and Klitschko's knocked 49 guys out. I think Haye will find a way to stop him. I think he'll, if you press me, I think he'll knock him out in the 6th round with a left hook.
That's well, Kevin. That's very precise, and a great to talk to you again. That's Kevin Mitchell from The Observer, tennis and boxing correspondent. Once again, the name of his book, if you're interested in the golden age, another golden age of boxing, and particularly the shenanigans that surround the great game, it's called The Mob, The Garden, and the Golden Age of Boxing, and it's in bookshops, good, bad, and indifferent, as we speak.